back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, Brian Hines, the Last Angry Geek. And welcome back for another edition of The Pull List. It's another 5-week episode, so let's dive right into January and the first new comics of 2019. Although, of course, we'll start with the very last comic of 2018. For up first, it's Fantastic Four, number 5. This is a very special issue about the marriage between longtime sweethearts Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, and blind sculptress Alicia Masters. This was an extra long issue with backup stories, but everything was written by current Fantastic Four author Dan Slott. The first backup story is about Sue and how she kind of nudged Ben into the relationship with Alicia, as well as her own past with him before, during, and after the accident that gave them their powers. It's drawn by Michael and Laura Aldred, who worked with Dan Slott on The Silver Surfer, and it's probably my favorite story in the book. It's really sweet and just a nice look back on these two and their love story. The second backup tale, and I shouldn't call it a backup tale because it takes place in and around the main story, so it's more like a side tale. It's about The Thing's bachelor party, as drawn by Johnny Storm. It's drawn by Adam Hughes, who at one time was one of my favorite artists. He's still very good, and thankfully in this issue he's back to using solid blacks when he colors his stuff. For a while there he was using pastels only, and it gave his art this kind of washed out, faded look that really didn't do it any favors. This is a very nice piece. It's funny as Johnny realizes that his past romantic history is nothing to brag about, set against a superhero barroom brawl. The main story itself is drawn by Aaron Kuder, and it's the wedding set in Middle America with Ben's relatives. Reed's been ignoring his best man duties, Sue's frustrated with Reed, Johnny's still depressed, and Ben's a nervous wreck. It all comes together and gets interrupted as superhero weddings always do, but Reed proves that he's not quite the character of himself that we've come to see in shows like The Venture Brothers. Altogether, this issue is sweet, funny, surprising, and larger than life at times, just like the Fantastic Four themselves. My suggestion? Even if you're only a casual FF4 fan, you should buy this issue. And if it's your introduction to what Dan Slott is doing with this, I wouldn't be surprised if you hang around for some more. With week 2, it's
What is best in life? A brand new Conan the Barbarian #1.
This is the first of 2 new Conan titles that Marvel has launched since getting the license back from Dark Horse, and I kind of feel bad for Dark Horse. What do they have left besides Umbrella Academy and Hellboy? I mean, Disney acquired Fox, so you can bet Aliens and Predator are going to Marvel at some point. I'm getting off topic. This is written by Jason Aaron and drawn by Mahmoud Asrar. I probably mangled that. If you're a Conan fan, or even in a broader sense, a sword and sorcery fan, you'll love this book. I'm a casual Conan fan at best, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It follows Conan throughout several points in his life, from a young pit fighter to his eventual rule as a king. We see that he's been targeted by this witch who wants to harvest his blood to release her slumbering god onto the planet, and how this cult keeps coming back into his life again and again at different points. The story's fun, it's got a lot of humor, sex, and violence, but in a PG-13 way. Also in the back is the first couple of pages of a novella that's going to be split into chapters across this first run, but I haven't read that. The real star here is Asrar's art. It's perfect for this book. He handles the sexiness, the violence, the magic, the monsters of Conan's worlds especially well. And he's very good at expressions, which always helps to tell a story. My suggestion? Buy it. Even if sword and sorcery isn't really your thing, try out this first issue and see how you feel about it. I'm thinking you'll have a fun time. For week 3, it's Young Justice, #1. Nothing to do with the returning cartoon show, but rather Brian Michael Bendis relaunching the original young teen superhero books that Peter David created in the 90s. This is part of Bendis' new Wonder Comics line that is going to be a series of titles all focusing on teen heroes. I'm guessing DC wants him to try and recreate the magic he had with Peter Parker and then later Miles Morales on Ultimate Spider-Man. This particular issue is drawn by former Green Lantern and Superman artist Patrick Gleason. This book reintroduces us to Gemworld, which we haven't seen since the DCNU Sword of Sorcery title, which I really liked, but didn't last too long. There's an interesting idea floated around that every time a crisis reboots the DC universe, Gemworld is unchanged but devastated by the effects of the crisis itself. So they've been suffering for a long time because of what's been going on in the proper DC universe. Gemworld then attacks Metropolis just as Robin, Wonder Girl, Ginny Hex, Impulse, and Teen Lantern, still don't know, happen to be there and come together to defend the city, Impulse declaring that Young Justice has been reformed. In the end, Robin and Impulse get taken to Gemworld, where Robin meets Princess Amethyst, and Impulse runs into a seemingly resurrected Connor Kent, the former Superboy. Patrick Gleason's art is very kinetic and bright, which is a nice change of pace from the overly dark and static books of modern comic book telling, but the story is all over the place, and I don't really feel like Bendis has a feel for these characters yet, but it is a very action-heavy issue, and we don't have much of a chance for him to get into the character's emotions and feelings and interactions just yet. My suggestion, skip it. What I saw didn't really win me over. It's a lot of noise without too much substance. If future issues get better, I'll let you know, but nothing I saw here really wowed me. Then with week 4, we have another Bendis book. Is he writing everything at DC these days? It's Superman number 7 by Bendis with art by Ivan Reyes and Brandon Peterson. Now that the Rogol-Zar storyline is temporarily over, Bendis is using Superman to bring John Kent back after he went into space with his mom and Grandpa Jor-El back in the Man of Steel miniseries. The modern-day stuff is drawn by Ivan Reyes, and Lois and Clark have to deal with John coming back as a teenager, having left as a preteen, so he's aged up about 1 to 7 years. It's never really quantified. The art on this section is very good, but Brandon Peterson takes over the art on the flashback, and ever since his days on Mystic at CrossGen, he's gotten worse at drawing faces. They're very angular. They just don't quite look right. It's serviceable art, but not great. I'd rather see him on a book like Iron Man or something like that, because he's really good with textures and mechanical stuff. Anyway, John, in a flashback, explains enough of the story that we see Lois leaving to the point where she came back in Action Comics. John and Jor-El fight some aliens. Lobo shows up and just talks. But it does end on a decent cliffhanger. My suggestion, wait on this one. Wait for a collection or a sale where you can get the issues cheap. I continue to stand by my statement that Action Comics is the better of the 2 Superman books Bendis is writing. Superman is his cosmic book, and I've never felt like he does cosmic very well. Also, it seems odd to age up John. There's so much potential for the Superman family with John as a kid, and also, why bring back John as a teen when you've just resurrected teenage Connor in Young Justice? Now we've got 2 teenage Superboys in the DC universe, and that's one too many, but maybe we'll de-age John at some point. I hope so, anyway. It's a little confusing to think about right now. Finally, with week 5, it's Guardians of the Galaxy number 1. Written by the new team of Donny Cates and drawn by Jeff Shaw. This is an immediate follow-up to Infinity Wars. Thanos is dead, and the universe is coming together to deal with that fact. Unfortunately, everyone finds out that he might not be that dead. He may have downloaded his mind into one of the cosmic heroes. The obvious choice? Gamora, so the entire cosmic superhero community besides the Guardians of the Galaxy decide to go hunt her down and kill her. But this is when the Ebony Order attacks. Those were those alien generals of his in the Avengers movie. After the attack, almost all the heroes are lost except for a handful who get saved at the last minute by Peter Quill and Groot, who can talk now. I mean, more than just I am Groot. I'm glad that they're no longer focusing on the movie team that Bendis established in his run. He's all over the pull list today, folks. When I first read Guardians of the Galaxy during the Abnett and Lanning era, it was a group of very different individuals all coming together to try and stave off big cosmic disasters before they happened. It was a direct result of the 2 Annihilation series. Then Bendis took over the team and basically turned it into Avengers in Space, and that was okay and certainly popular, but I just never really got into that. With this, we have a bunch of different heroes coming together as a result of a disaster, as a result of circumstance. So Donny Cates has kind of got the book entering its new Avengers phase, where, the heroes just kind of get thrown together and go forward from that. They're shaking this book up, and I'm very glad they're doing it. The art by Jeff Shaw is okay. It's nothing to get excited about. It's not awful either. My suggestion, I had a lot of fun with this book, and I want to see where it goes. But for the rest of you, if you haven't been following Guardians or Infinity Wars, you might be lost, and I'm not entirely sure if this book will be good, bad, or just decent. I think it has a lot of potential, but I'm not really sure of the quality yet. I say wait until you get a collection or a sale or you've heard from someone you trust about whether it's good or not. All right, my friends, this was the January pull list. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you back here in 1 month for the February pull list, and hopefully it'll be all teen romance books, right? For February? Valentine's Day? No? Shut up, Brian, end the show. Okay, thank you for joining me, everyone. This has been Comic Book Issues, the pull list, and I'm your host, Brian Hines, the Last Angry Geek.